Welcome to the Young Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Melina, and I'm super excited to bring you this podcast where we explore the journeys and advice of successful leaders. Today's guest is an advocate for identity and diversity in education with over 22 years of experience as an early childhood educator and as the founder and CEO of the Concept One Learning Center. She has dedicated her career to creating inclusive learning environments. Get ready to be inspired by the journey of Miss Rosey. Miss Rosey, welcome to the Young Leaders Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Well, we're going to start off by going down memory lane. Are you excited for that?
I am.
So, when you were 15 or my age, what were some of the things that you used to do?
Well, I can recall playing the tabla. So that's one of the biggest things my family dynamics was all about, is making sure that we were doing kirtan. So playing the tabla was a very important part of my life and my journey. And I also would open the garage for students that lived in our neighborhood, kids that were under the age of 6 who would come and play school with me. So, that's where I would define today who I am based on being that pretend teacher and being called Miss Rosie even at that time. So, my days at the age of 15 were either teaching or playing the tabla. So my dad had a vision for me, and he always said to me that every time there was something, when it came to the children coming to the house, he always felt that I would become a teacher.
And so, being at that age, do you think it's okay if you don't know what you want to be? Because I know there's so many kids who think, hey, I'm 15, I'm 16, I don't know what I want to be, I don't know what courses to take, and then they get confused.
So at the age of 15, 16, 17, you would not, you know, at that age, how would you know what you wanted to become? That's something that I would always question myself in terms of where I wanted to go. My dad had a vision for me. He said, one day you will become a teacher, you will open up your own school. And here I'm thinking, I don't want to become a teacher, but that's where the vision started and the journey began. And here I am.
Okay. And what about the importance of having faith and always believing?
I think having faith and always believing in who you believe in. So for me, it's Wagyu. And, coming from the Sikh faith, I believe that everything is done as per what Wagyu has written for you in your journey. And without that faith, I don't think I would be where I am today. And I think with that faith, I am now being able to look at other areas of my career because of having that faith.
And when you are like in a time where you feel like it's very hard to get out of, what do you do that helps you?
So I practice a lot of meditation. I practice a lot of, a routine of, my upbringing. So making sure that, I go and do my ardas and I pray that, every day, this is you, Wagyu, whatever it is that you are going to do for me today. Please help me through that. And I think when you're challenged with things, that's when you become more stronger and you start to build on that faith even much more, because it does put you in a position of how much faith do you have in the higher being, in Wagyu, that will allow you to become someone that you're supposed to be, someone that you're supposed to work towards. And if you do go through those challenging moments, it's okay to fall, because you know that you do have to bring yourself back up through that faith of, again, who you believe in.
And when you were younger, what were like some of the things that helped you shape the person that you are today that you did?
I think the biggest thing for me is the condition of what my father, my late father, had us go through. So the Sikhi values, and making sure that we were so tuned with that growing up. And at the age of 2 years old, I remember my late father putting my hands on the tabla and putting my brothers on the harmonium at such a young age. And I think that's what's shaped me on, practicing Sikhi even more, is because my father took time to build us, to make sure that we understood, Gurbani and what the Sikh faith was all about.
Hmm. And so I also started playing the tabla recently as well, a little bit, not fully getting the point, but like every Saturday we would go to the Gurdwara and we would go play the tabla or the harmonium. It's a lot of fun to learn it, learn the kirtan, and learn everything about Sikhi. And so, when did you actually start, I guess, becoming or believing more in Waheguru?
So personally, we all go through challenging moments in our life. We all go through obstacles. And it was that moment when I had that opportunity to speak to somebody on the phone, a very spiritual being. And I recall this moment in my life where he had stated to me that don't give up, follow the path, follow the actual journey of Sikhi and see where your life takes you. But at that time, my mind was not certain. Like, is this something that I really want to do? Is this really the journey that I want to take? But something sparked within that conversation that made me realize that this is this is the journey. This is what Rosey Core's foundation was all about. Sometimes you lose that foundation. Sometimes you lose certain areas of your upbringing, and you go through these moments of making mistakes and falling and getting back up and falling and getting back up. I thought I was just the worst child ever, having two older brothers, being the youngest in my family. I guess for me, I always thought that I was the one that's making the wrong decisions and the bad choices. But in the end, this is because of Waiguru and the faith that I believe that I had. Is I'm where I am because of that love and that willingness to change and to be on this path. I would never ever turn back to who I was before. And even if I do go down that journey of making, mistakes again, it's okay because I know what my anchor is in the end. And that's to really focus on Waiguru's teachings and being able to do what Guru Maharaj is telling us to do each and every
So
day.
when you were around my age, whether it's older or younger a bit, what was something that you think you would do differently?
I think choices. I think some of the things, again, being the youngest in the family, making the right choices, doing the opposite of it. So I think at that age, I would have wanted to really make the right choices in my life.
And what about for all the teenagers or young adults or young leaders that are watching this? What would be some advice that you would give them regarding making choices or choosing the right friends or choosing the right path to go down?
I think it's really important to make sure that your sangat, your friend circle, is supporting you and pushing you to be the best that you can be. I think when you have a community, an army behind you that supports you, I think your decisions would be much, much more easier. And for those leaders that are watching and listening to this, don't ever give up on your dreams or give up on things that you feel you want to do. Because when you have that inner desire to do something, that is the inner voice speaking for whatever you want to build or whatever you want to do in your life. So don't ever, ever give up on that inner voice that is telling you to do something.
And how did you start Concept One Learning Center? How did you figure out like the steps on building that business at school?
So Concept One Learning Center, very, very personal story. So I had a desire and a spark within himself because he was very spiritual. And he always thought I would become a teacher. He always thought my brothers would become doctors. And we are all what he had stated. And unfortunately, when my dad passed away, before he passed away, he said to me, one day you will open up your school. And the concept will be ik, which means one in Punjabi. And I thought to myself, where am I going to open this school? How am I going to manage financially to open up this? So coming into a new home, trying to figure out what I needed to do in this home. How do I bring Rosey Core into this family dynamic? How do I get Concept One Learning Center to start? So in my husband's home, they had a room, a dining room and a living room that was never furnished. And there was a reason for that. All the years that I lived in this house for over 30 years, they used it for, kirtan programs. They used it for yoga. The room was used in many, many different. And I thought to myself, what if I opened up a small homeschool here? So I talked to my husband, and he's like, no problem. I talked to my in laws, and they said, no problem. So September 2014 is when I decided to renovate this room into a homeschool Montessori program. That's where I started. And I named the school Concept One Learning Center. The legacy of my father, everything that he's taught me, I felt, how can I make him proud? How can I give back to somebody that taught me a lot in my life? Concept One Learning Center is a place where I know that he's always around. And the vision that he had for me is here. When the students walk into the classroom, each and every student that has walked into this classroom, there's always been that key aspect of teaching. And there have been over 75 students that I've taught.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been such an amazing journey with White Rosey.
Wow, that's amazing. The way that you took your father's teachings and made it all come to life is absolutely amazing. And being a teacher, what is, I guess, the one main piece of advice that you want to give to all the people who are listening to this episode?
So as teachers, sometimes your days can become very, very overwhelming, with planning and implementing and report cards and looking at every single child's behavior and making sure that you are committed to their education. The only thing that I would say is take some time for yourself. This is not a race where you have to be the best teacher ever in this world. I think the important factor of every teacher out there is to be mindful of your time and your space and your boundaries. Take what you can. The other thing that I always tell a lot of my teacher friends is try not to bring your lessons home. Do what you can at school. Take time for yourself after teaching a long 8-hour day, because I know some of those teachers have children that they have to go and attend to at home. So always be mindful of how much you do and how much you bring home. And don't ever lose yourself in this world of education.
Okay, and now let's get into the mystery questions. So we're going to start with the mystery questions that was left from our previous guest. And that question is, how can we make the world a better place?
By respecting each other, loving each other. And there's one thing that my mother-in-law, before she passed away, always said: the world needs more kindness. And I think that is one thing that I'm trying my best to live every day, is that we do need to be kind to everybody. You don't know what struggles they're going through. You don't know what obstacles they're facing. The world does need more kindness in this life.
Yeah, I agree 100%. There is so much kindness. It's just they're not showing it. You don't see it all the time because of, well, one is news. News does not show anything good. Two, it's just the people that you go around sometimes causes you to realize maybe there isn't happiness or kindness in the world. But if you go around those people, or in one of my episodes, I remember we were talking about mindset, and whatever you think about, that energy goes out in the universe, and then whatever you are thinking about, if you're always positive, I guess it can be positive people or positive things happening to you. But the more negative that you think, then you'll have negative people around you, negative influence, negative, basically negative everything. So being positive will always bring that kindness and spread it. And now we're going to end off with, what is your mystery question for the next guest?
So my mystery question for the next guest is, if you could do something all over again, what would that be?
If you could do something all over again, what would that be? It's an interesting one, I'm actually excited to see what the next guest will say about that. Thank you so much, Miss Rosey. I really enjoyed this conversation. I learned so much, and I really do hope that all of our viewers and the young leaders out there who are watching this enjoyed and learned something new as well.
Thank you so much, Melina, for having me.
Thank you so much.